You keep giving. You keep explaining. You keep trying to show him how much you care, thinking that maybe this time he'll finally see it. You send the good morning texts. You try to fix what's broken. You stay patient, soft, understanding, even when he starts to fade. But the harder you try to hold on, the more he slips through your fingers. Every time you reach out, he retreats. Every time you open your heart, he shuts his. And that's when the confusion sets in. You start asking yourself, what did I do wrong? You replay every message, every silence, searching for the moment he changed. But here's the truth. No one ever tells you. The more you chase an avoidant man, the faster he runs. Because for him, love doesn't feel safe. It feels like pressure. Connection feels like control. Your affection, the very thing that comes from love, starts to feel like suffocation inside his nervous system. So what if I told you, the only way to make an avoidant man come closer is to stop chasing him completely? This isn't about games. It isn't manipulation. It's about power, quiet, emotional power. The kind that comes from understanding his fear, not fighting it. Because when you stop trying to convince him to love you, that's when his walls begin to lower, on their own. Let's talk about why. Think about it. The more you try to connect with him, the colder he becomes. You reach out, he pulls away. You try to open up, he shuts down. It starts small. He stops replying the way he used to. The texts get shorter. The calls get less frequent. And slowly, your connection starts to fade, like a radio signal that's losing its frequency. He says things like, I just need some space, or I'm just busy right now. But deep down you can feel it. He's slipping. And the more you sense that distance, the harder you try to close it. You start to overthink every silence, wondering what you said wrong. You apologize for things you didn't even do. You tell yourself, if I just love him harder, he'll come back. So you give more. You show more. You chase harder. But here's what no one tells you. That very energy of chasing, fixing, proving, is the exact thing that makes him withdraw even more. Not because he wants to hurt you, not because he stopped caring, but because to an avoidant man, your closeness starts to feel like danger. Love for him doesn't mean safety. It means vulnerability, exposure, loss of control. And every time you move closer, his nervous system screams, run. So while you're trying to save the connection, he's fighting to protect himself from it. You're chasing love, he's chasing distance. You're trying to hold on, he's trying to breathe. And then, something shifts. When you finally stop, when you go quiet, when you stop trying to prove that your love is enough, he suddenly feels something he hasn't felt in a long time, relief. But that relief doesn't last. Because soon, that silence begins to echo, and the space he asked for starts to feel like something else, loss. That's the moment when something unexpected begins to happen inside him, a pull he can't explain, a longing he doesn't understand. And for the first time, he starts to feel your absence more than your presence. Let's go deeper, into what really starts to shift inside the avoidant mind. Let's go deeper, into what really starts to shift inside the avoidant mind. When you chase an avoidant man, his nervous system doesn't feel your love. It feels your intensity, what you mean as connection. His body interprets as pressure. You see, an avoidant man was often shaped by a past where closeness meant pain. Maybe he grew up being unseen, unheard, or only loved when he was perfect. So somewhere deep inside, he learned, if I let someone get too close, I'll lose myself. That belief lives quietly inside him, even when he doesn't realize it. So when someone truly cares, someone like you, it wakes up that old fear. Your warmth, your consistency, your emotional depth. It starts to feel like a demand he can't meet, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because his body has been wired to survive distance. When you send that long message, when you try to fix what's broken, when you reach out after silence, his mind doesn't hear, she loves me. It hears, I'm losing control again. and the avoidant fears nothing more than losing control, so he pulls away. He gets cold. He creates space, not to punish you, but to protect the fragile parts of himself he doesn't even understand. But here's where everything changes. When you stop chasing, something inside him shifts. The pressure disappears. His body finally exhales. His nervous system begins to calm, and in that stillness, for the first time, he can actually feel you, not your words, not your effort, but your energy, your peace, your absence. That's when his mind begins to wander. He starts to wonder what you're doing, why your attention no longer revolves around him. He starts to miss the very presence he once ran from. Because when you stop chasing an avoidant man, you give him something he's never had before, the space to choose you. And when he feels that choice is his, that's when he begins to come closer. Now let's see what happens next, when that silence starts to change everything. At first he feels relief. When you finally stop chasing, stop reaching out, stop trying to fix what he broke, his body relaxes. He tells himself, finally, the pressure is gone. He scrolls through his phone, seeing your name in his messages. Quiet now, no calls, no long texts, no soft reminders of love, and for a moment, it feels good to him. He feels free again, but freedom doesn't feel the way he thought it would, because soon, the silence becomes loud. That space he once craved starts to echo with memories of you, your voice, your laughter, your warmth. It lingers in his mind like a scent that won't fade. He notices the calm, but it doesn't feel peaceful anymore. It feels empty, because the energy between you has changed. You've shifted. You're no longer the one waiting by the phone. You're no longer emotionally available at his command. The dynamic that made him feel in control has quietly dissolved, and he can feel it. At first he tries to ignore it. He tells himself you've probably moved on, and that he doesn't care. But the truth, something inside him starts to ache. That ache isn't just about missing you. It's confusion, because for the first time, he senses something he's never felt from you before. Distance. Not reactive distance, not anger, but calm, emotional detachment, and that calm unnerves him. He begins to wonder, where did she go? Why does it feel so different now? Did she stop caring, or did she finally find peace? And that's the moment everything starts to shift inside him, because now, you're no longer chasing. You've become the quiet mystery that draws him in. Your absence starts to do what your presence never could. It begins to pull him back. He doesn't realize it yet, but the chase has silently reversed. Let's look at what happens next, when that ache turns into a pull he can't resist. You've shifted the dynamic. You're no longer the pursuer. You've become the calm, the energy that no longer reaches, no longer begs, no longer pleads. And in that stillness, something powerful starts to happen, because your silence isn't cold. It's grounded. It doesn't punish him. It protects your peace. It says without words, I'm no longer trying to prove my worth to you. That's the moment his nervous system begins to register safety, not pressure. For the first time he can breathe around you. He doesn't feel chased. He doesn't feel trapped. He feels curious. He starts to wonder where your energy went, why the dynamic feels different. He can sense it even through silence. You're no longer emotionally waiting for him, and that subtle shift triggers something deep inside him, a pull he doesn't understand, because to the avoidant mind, safety is rare, and what you've done, without even trying, is create an emotional environment where his fear starts to rest. And when that fear finally quiets, his longing begins to wake up. Now it's him who replays old messages. It's him who checks your last scene. It's him who wonders what changed. He starts moving toward you, not because you demanded it, but because your energy stopped demanding anything at all. You've become the eye of the storm, the calm his nervous system trusts, and that calm is magnetic, because deep down, every avoidant man craves what he fears most, emotional safety, And when you stop chasing, you embody exactly that. You become the space where he can finally feel safe to want you, not out of guilt, not out of habit, but out of choice. And that's the pull he can't resist, the one that makes him start to come closer, without even realizing he's chasing you. Now let's move to the moment everything transforms, when your peace becomes his desire. This is the paradox of the avoidant man. The moment you stop proving your worth, he finally starts to feel it. When you stop begging for love, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop trying to earn the connection, something in him begins to shift. Because your silence isn't rejection, it's strength. Your absence isn't coldness, it's clarity. And suddenly the energy he once ran from becomes the energy he begins to crave. He starts to remember your softness, the warmth that used to calm him, the way your voice made him feel safe, even when he didn't know how to say it. He replays moments he never acknowledged before, the small kindnesses, the emotional depth, the peace you carried effortlessly. He begins to realize that your stillness feels different from any silence he's known before. It's not the kind that tries to punish, it's the kind that radiates peace, and peace is something his nervous system doesn't know how to live without anymore. That's when the paradox unfolds. The more you detach with love, the more he feels drawn back toward it, because now you're not chasing, you're anchored. You're no longer the storm of emotion he once feared. You've become the calm he didn't know he needed, and that calm becomes irresistible. He remembers your presence, not as pressure, but as comfort. He begins to miss the emotional safety he once took for granted, and slowly, almost unconsciously, he starts to move closer. He reaches out, softly, not because he's ready to be fully vulnerable yet, but because he's finally starting to feel safe enough to try. That's the transformation. You stop chasing him, and that's exactly what made him come back. Not to the old dynamic, but to the version of you who no longer needs to be chosen, because she already chose herself. And now, he feels that shift too. Love isn't about pursuit, it's about energy, and the energy you bring decides whether love flows toward you or away from you. When you chase, your energy says, I'm afraid to lose you. But when you're calm, centered, anchored in your own peace, your energy whispers, I'm already whole. And that difference changes everything. Because the truth is, you can't ever make an avoidant man love you by proving your worth. But you can awaken his love by standing so deeply in your worth that he feels safe enough to come closer. This is the secret rhythm of emotional attraction. It doesn't happen through pursuit. It happens through presence. The moment you reclaim your peace, you stop chasing, and you start glowing. Your silence becomes magnetic, your calm becomes unforgettable, and your energy becomes the very thing his nervous system begins to crave. He doesn't fall for you because you try harder. He falls because your peace feels like something he's never known, something stable, safe, and deeply real. And here's the paradox. No one talks about the moment you no longer need him to come closer. That's the moment he can. Because an avoidant man can only love freely when he doesn't feel trapped by your need. When he senses that your world no longer revolves around him, he finally feels free enough to orbit back toward you. That's the energy shift, the invisible pull that draws him in without a single word. So don't chase, don't plead, just return home to yourself. Because when you do, you stop being the seeker of love, and become the source of it. And that energy, that still, grounded, self-assured peace, is what makes him come closer, again and again. You stop chasing love, and that's what made love start chasing you. So stop chasing him. Stop explaining. Stop trying to prove that you're worth staying for, because you already are. You always were. The moment you stop running after love, love starts to find its way back to you. When you walk back into your calm, when your energy softens and your heart stops fighting to be understood, you become the one he can finally feel safe to love. That's the power you've had all along. Not in the chase, but in the stillness. Not in the words, but in your energy. And if this message spoke to something inside you, if it reminded you of your own strength, your worth, and the kind of peace that love can grow from, then this space is for you. Because understanding avoidant love isn't just about relationships. It's about learning how to love without losing yourself. It's about healing what's unhealed, and finally attracting the kind of love that doesn't hurt to hold. So if this touched your heart, take a deep breath, and before you go, hit that subscribe button, drop a heart in the comments if you felt this, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it tonight. Because the moment you choose peace over pursuit, everything about love begins to change.